Once upon a time, in the bustling kingdom of Amerigolfa, there lived a man named Spanky McPettypants, whose heart was as small as a walnut and whose grudges grew taller than skyscrapers. Spanky was so petty, he once stormed into the royal archives, demanding they rewrite the history scrolls to prove his victory parade drew more villagers than his wise predecessors, despite the rain soaked fields telling a different tale. He suffered greatly when trying to pronounce the name of a magical healing elixir, but acetaminophen was too much for him. Banish it altogether, he said. And oh, the time a magic moving staircase in the Grand Hall of Nations halted mid climb, thanks to his own squire's clumsy footing, Spanky didn't laugh it off. No, he thundered for a full inquisition against the hall's keepers, as if it were a plot against his complicated, piss colored locks. But Spanky's spite knew no bounds. He turned his beady eyes to the jolly jester, Jimmy Kimmel, who dared poke fun at Spanky's floppy crown and tiny scepter in nightly tales. Enraged, Spanky whispered to the kingdom's criers and scroll masters, pressuring them to banish Kimmel from the airwaves altogether, claiming it was for bad jests that mocked a fallen knight. Pettypants thought for sure that would make Kimmel less popular, but his petty focus on it made him more popular and more loved amongst his merry band of loyal toadies who cheered the silencing as a grand defense of honor. Not sated, Spanky spied on his rival, the steady King Joe, who used an enchanted quill called the Autopen to seal decrees. To seal decrees when duty called him afar, a tool Spanky himself wielded in secret for his own proclamations. Yet Spanky howled from the rooftops that King Joe's quill proved he was a puppet on strings, unfit to rule, even demanding the old king's merciful pardons be torn to shreds. Pettypants thought for sure that would tarnish King Joe's legacy forever. But his petty obsession only swelled his own following, who hailed it as sharp-eyed truth-telling. One fateful eve, as the kingdom teetered on the brink of a great shutdown, taverns closing, bridges crumbling, Spanky gathered his court not to mend the rift, but to plot one final grudge, renaming a sleepy seaside hamlet after his boyhood foe, the bard Rosie O'Donnell, just to watch her squirm from afar. Let the bards sing of my triumphs, he bellowed, ignoring the starving scribes outside. And so, while the realm starved for wisdom and more affordable food, Spanky feasted on feuds. In the end, the villagers whispered, pettiness may win you a throne of thorns, but it builds no lasting castle. And Spanky, he just pouted louder, dreaming of the next slight to avenge. The moral, dear listeners, beware the man who measures greatness in grudges, for his kingdom crumbles from within. Now, folks, I think you know who Spanky McPettypants is. I certainly am familiar with him. My guest today absolutely is familiar with him. She has spent her days, as I have, a kindred spirit, eviscerating his foolish proclamations, calling him out for his absolute bullshit, and doing so with a sharp wit and a fiery, unvarnished truth. Folks, my guest today is no stranger to hobnobbing it with presidents. She has indeed. Wait, is it presidents or president? Plural or singular? President. With president. Having met the mighty Joe Biden. And she also has her own podcast. Actually, she has more than one podcast. One of them is Are You Effing Kidding Me? With JoJo from Jers. And she's also been on this show before, Storytime with BDD, several times. And he has also been featured on the Mount Rushmore of progressive influencers, along with yours truly.
Look at us.
This was originally meant to be a slam, but we ended up embracing it. So, folks, we've got some stuff to get into today. I hope you're ready for it, because I am. Let's go. Story time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And folks, I'd like you to welcome my very good friend, an incredible person, incredible human being, the illustrious, the famous, the unimitatable JoJo from Jers. Joe, welcome to the show.
Brooklyn, my friend. It is wonderful to be here. And thank you for those glowing words. And thank you for that inspirational, beautiful prose at the front. You have a gift, sir. You have a gift. Yeah. I mean, this is how you meet some of this moment, though, right? It is with parody and your chat is just fucking insane. Oh, can I swear? I forgot.
Yeah, you can. Totally.
Your chat is just like entertaining in and of itself, right? Like I'm just reading the chat, like, hi guys, like hi, like they're like so welcoming and so nice and so friendly, and they all know each other, and I fucking love that. You built a community, and that's what we need to be doing too. But that's the antidote to everything. That, and for me personally, at this moment, since it's Friday, for myself, a little liquid courage in the form of a half bottle of Miomi Pinot Noir, friends. Half bottle, because
nice.
Yeah. But thank you for having me. It's wonderful to see you on this show again, because I've done this show twice, and both times have been an absolute and utter and complete and total blast. So we have a show that we do every week that is a little lower.
That's right. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah. So we also, Joe and I, do a thing on Substack, and it's called the JoJo and BDD show, and it's every Thursday afternoon, somewhere between 2:30 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna land
whenever we can get our schedules.
It's me. It's always me. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm a Taylor Swift song. Yeah.
So you had a fender bender yesterday. What the hell happened? Who bended your fender?
My friend.
Who bended it?
I bended it. And I want everyone to know, including my trolls out there, hi and fuck you.
Hi,
also.
Trolls.
Hi, trolls. This is your favorite combo. You made many memes of us feeding each other fried foods. So here we are.
Grapes.
Grapes, pizza, cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. It's amazing how lately, by the way, instead of making me like a behemoth, they focus on giving me big boobs. You know what? I'm not gonna hyper analyze that or Freud the shit out of that. But so what I will admit to you, what I admitted to my children at the time, and then for many hours afterward, because at some point my son was like, "Mom, it's okay. This is the kind of idiot I am, and I can own it. So I love Halloween decorations. I love Halloween. I love decorations of all kinds, Halloween and Christmas in particular. Because it is such a desperately desolate and disheartening time to be alive, I wanted to get ahead of the curve and put my Halloween decorations up last weekend, which is early. I confess, I know that it's early, but I
It
wanted to.
is. It's
I
not
wanted
even October yet. What are you
I
doing?
know, and look, I also have my Halloween candy. Yes, I do. But you know why? Because I like it, and also, I wanted to enter my house every evening with something joyful, and I wanted
Mhm.
to, imbue that joy into my home, wherever I can. And so the decorations have been up. And then I had this epiphany the other night on Wednesday night. I'm like, oh God, I have these cool spotlight lights that can turn different colors. So I'm going to put a green spotlight on this tree and a purple spotlight on that tree. And oh, they look really good, but I'm too close. Let me get in the car
Mhm.
and let me see them from the street. So kids, get in the car. Let's go to Chipotle, which by the way, is like my favorite thing in the world right now, and they've turned me into a Chipotle like lover. So they get in the car, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to get a better view, and I put the car in reverse, and I'm looking at the lights, my own decorations,
No.
and and it's and I'm
No.
not even thinking, not even a little, and it just goes, and I slammed into my neighbor's very much parked, very much
Damn.
always there car.
You can't even blame it on anybody
Oh,
else.
no. Oh, no, and it's not like my kids were fighting, they
It
weren't
sucks.
distracting me. This was all about the dork that I am needing to get a different perspective on my Halloween lights. Like, what is wrong with me?
Wait, why did you have to drive to get couldn't you just walk across the street to see the house from a different uh,
Okay, let me tell you why. Okay, because I've given myself my own competition where I need to be the best on my block. And I need to see my house. I need to be approaching it as I drive down my street. Like I want to experience what people are experiencing. So guys, I'm a total dork, right? So I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I want to see how far up the block they'll be able to see the lights." Yeah. So I
Oh,
need
I
to get in
see,
the
I
car,
see.
and because I live on my street is very weird. We have a tree line in the middle, so there's one side of the street goes one way and the other side of the street goes the other, and so you can't just easily go up and down. You have to go around the tree line and you have to do a whole loop. So I was just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go into reverse." Because that's what normal people would do. No, not at all. So my Halloween decorations are now gonna cost me some neighborhood of $3,000. Yeah.
Yikes.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
just wanna take a minute to say, thank you to my friend Zelda here for the kind, donation to the show. We greatly appreciate your generosity. Thank you so much.
That's awesome,
Um,
Zelda. That's awesome. Well deserved too. Yeah, but feel free to laugh at me. I deserve it. And honestly, when we got
I'm
to
not
Chipotle,
laughing. I'm not laughing at your
oh,
pain. No, I mean we do the out like we do the Christmas lights here, and it's like it takes me a few weeks to put them all together. Like I put them around the perimeter of the house. I put them on the tree outside. I put
oh
them
man,
around the bushes. It's like it's a whole thing, and I have to represent because the other neighbors on the block are also doing their thing. So it's
yeah.
like you have to represent. So I totally feel you, with that. But hey,
Mm.
at least I believe you can pronounce acetaminophen. Hmm?
Well, here's what I do know. If you can't pronounce it, you should definitely not be telling people whether they can or cannot take it. Like, are we really getting our medical advice from a guy with dark hands, a guy who looks like he fell asleep in a Tupperware container of spaghetti sauce? Like, are we really from the guy with the cankles? I think there's also like some machinery going on. I don't think his suit anymore is a suit. I think it's a tarp to cover like the gizmos, gadgets, who's
I
more
heard
what
about
and
that.
right? Like
I
I honestly think that
They
that's what's
said that
going on.
he has some kind of thing that's like inside his jacket, but goes all the way down to his leg, which
Yeah.
is why he drags his leg like that. I wish they would just say something,
Yeah.
instead of having everybody come up with their own conspiracy theory notion. And that's another thing I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today is that, he is. authoritarian leaning. I'm not even going to say leaning. He is an authoritarian,
Does
and
lean though.
yes, he's got the smooth criminal lean. But
Yeah.
in order for authoritarians to have success, they need for the public, for citizens to be confused,
Mhm.
to be unable to discern truth from fiction. That is the core thing. And so his whole thing every week is a different kind of conspiracy theory and
Mhm.
nonsense. I got to ask you, why is he doing this thing with Tylenol? What is the does he have some kind, do you think he has like a stock in um the Tylenol makers competitor?
Well, we
Is
know
that
this.
his play? What is happening?
We know this much about him, right? Well, first of all, we could speculate all day long, and there's been stuff written over the many years about his personal relationship with autism. I'll just leave it at that, right? There's people who have said that their children went to school with Barron, that they know Barron, that they've met Barron, whatever. I don't know for sure. I worked with autistic preschoolers for 7 years.
Mm,
I have some knowledge on the subject, but so there's that part, right? There's also the fact that he's an idiot. But Donald Trump doesn't do anything because his moral compass points true north, right? Like everything he does, aside from the retribution, the vengeance, the revenge, and the hate and the greed. Well, setting those things aside, everything
mhm.
he does is driven by greed. Everything.
Yep. Yep.
If there is a true center to him, that is it. So they always tell on themselves too, because if you caught what happened was that Dr. Oz plugged a drug that is getting FDA approval from this FDA, which this
It's
I mean,
not
I don't even
cricket at
know.
all.
Like, put in the chat what you guys like jokingly think FDA and CDC stand for, and Donald Trump and RFK Jr.'s administration. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
not Food and Drug Administration. Fools and dumbasses. There it is. Fools and dumbasses. But yes,
Yes.
Dr.
Tina
Oz is
Bradford
it.
says Dr. Oz wants to buy his
Tina's
site.
right.
Yeah.
Tina's right. And so there is some to everything he does, there is always some personal benefit. If there's no personal benefit, there's no interest in it for him, period. The only reason he's president again is because he wanted to stay out of jail. And now he's managed to do that and make himself about $10 billion richer.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Depends on the question.
Did you take Tylenol when you were with child?
Oh, well, this is an interesting question because I've talked
I'm
about
just
this.
curious.
No. I this is the thing I do want to answer that question, and yes, I did. But here's the other thing. This is yet another opportunity for them to vilify women. This is another
Mm,
attack
yeah.
on women, right? So it's the mother's fault. First of all, there's no
Mhm.
real science here linking these things together. It's
Right.
vibes and whims and like feelings, right? Because he even said several times, by the way, like you're gonna take your medical advice from those people, then you deserve to get sick. Yeah. I took Tylenol. I want to just speak to this though, because it's an important question. When you are pregnant, especially with your first, for me anyway, I will just say this: everything terrifies you. You do
Mm,
not know. All you know is that all of a sudden your whole person is responsible for making another person and keeping that very vulnerable other person that you love with all your heart, body, mind, and soul safe and
yeah.
healthy. And so, for me anyway, I was very overly maybe cautious. I was telling the story on a live that I do every Wednesday called Over It about how when I was pregnant with my son, I started with a certain group of midwives and they had one doctor. And I was at work and I sat at my desk for a couple of hours straight that day. And I looked down at my ankles and I was like, oh my God, what is what? And they look bigger than Donald Trump's. Okay. They look like ham hocks. They look
Mm.
like my shoes were staging a mutiny against my ankles. Like it was I was terrified, right? So then I start
Yeah.
Googling, and you should never do that, by the way. So I'm Googling and I'm like, oh my God, this is
WebMD.
right. This is
Yeah.
all these things. This is bad. This is dangerous. I start to panic because I'm a first-time mom, and I'd had 2 miscarriages prior to that. So then your brain goes there too. So I called my then doctor, and I said, I don't know if I should freak out or if I shouldn't freak out, if you need to see me, but this is what's happening. And the receptionist is like, oh, okay, well, we'll take your message and somebody will get back to you. And nobody ever did. So I'm like, I'm home, I'm on WebMD, I'm freaking out, I'm worried. By the way, also just full disclosure, because of some mix up with my testing, my son was flagged for 1 in 48 chance of having Down syndrome. So I was already on high.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. So fun fact, like the tests that they used to do, they had a lot of false positives and false results with that. So I was already on high alert about this. So I
Mhm.
called the next day and I said, nobody ever called me back. And they said, oh, we didn't think it was an emergency. And I was like, but yeah, but I don't know that. That
Right.
that anyway, change doctors. What I want to say about that is that when you are a first time mom or a mom at all, you rely on information that you're hoping will keep you and your unborn child safe and healthy. And so when they are standing up there deliberately giving disinformation, it's not misinformation, it is disinformation. They are lying. Uh
Yeah.
for what reasons we can only guess. Again, probably financial. It is dangerous. And pregnant moms are already freaking out about stuff. So you're just making them even more anxious and nervous. And why?
I need to say this. I need to say to expectant mothers out there, to families, et cetera, talk to your doctors.
Yeah.
You know, what I've heard, and what I've heard doctors say is that it's perfectly safe,
Yeah.
with if taken in moderation. I don't think anyone will do well if they take an entire bottle of Tylenol. So you
Yeah.
absolutely should not do it. You should only do it as directed. And
Yeah.
each person is different. Some people might be allergic to acetaminophen somehow.
Yeah.
So again, consult with your doctor. Don't consult with Spanky McPettypants. And if this is your first time here, please make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button. The like button looks like a thumbs up right there, and the subscribe button is in the lower right hand corner of your screen. And let's see, what did I have here? I just briefly wanted to mention that my Substack article that I have written this week is called Trump's FCC Goon Squad Failed to Cancel Kimmel. Here's why. Inside the outrage fueled victory that proved free speech still matters. And excuse me, briefly, I have a little blurb that I from that article. That's all Trump is, really, a walking, talking diaper full of grievances about how he's mistreated, and he thinks that gives him the right to silence his critics. Quote, when you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, he whined to reporters, they're licensed, they're not allowed to do that. Actually, they are. Right, Joe?
Yeah.
Am I
Amen.
wrong?
Amen. Amen. Yes. Yes, they can. South Park can do what South Park does. Jimmy Kimmel can do what Jimmy Kimmel does. Freedom of speech is not freedom of what you consider free speech. It's not convenient speech.
Yeah.
And it's ironic to me that these are the same free speech absolutists who will tell you that there's no such thing as hate speech, right?
Oh, wasn't that Charlie Kirk who
In
said
fact, it
that?
was. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And what I find very interesting about this too is that this one kind of pierced the bubble of partisanship because you
Yeah.
had Tucker Carlson and
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens, Ted Cruz. You had a lot of other people who I'm not fans of. I apologize for the drag race that just went by. A lot of other people who I'm not fans of going, whoa, 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 hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like because if at first they come for your enemies, your rivals, your opponents, if you think that they're not going to come for you too and for your
Mhm.
speech too, then you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just
Here's the crazy thing. A lot of the people who were cheering who
Mhm.
were cheering this government overreach, just totally taking a shit on our First Amendment rights, are the same people who use those First Amendment rights to troll us, you
Mhm.
and I, all day
Mhm.
long, to post
Mhm.
their bullshit, to spread their lies and whatever and their nonsense. That's the First Amendment that gives you the right to hop onto my Twitter feed and accuse me of being everything but a child of God, for crying out loud. And
Yeah.
it is your right. It is your protected right to be as foul as to be as foul as the anonymity of the internet allows you to be. God
Right.
damn it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. I mean, they've hoisted themselves upon their own petards. You know what I mean?
There it
It's
is.
like
Mhm.
eh, I I want you to be able to say the awful things you say to me because it is your First Amendment protected right. As long as you don't threaten me, and boy, oh boy, have I gotten my fair share of those. And as long as you
Mhm.
don't expose my private information, and that just happened again recently in real time. Kudos to that troll for telling the world that they jerk off to photos of my house and my kids. Um,
Yikes.
True story. Yeah. Yep. Because I had the audacity to have a conversation with a doctor online about how people should listen to their doctors because there are still such things as experts in the world. But yeah, so the hypocrisy is astounding. But then again, it's not about free speech. There's a great cartoon. It's Pam Bondi behind the podium, and the reporter says, what do you define as hate speech? And she says, any speech I don't like or any speech I hate. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're at, but that's the gaslighting too. And this is also the authoritarian playbook, is that they come for your freedom, but they come for free speech. They come for the comedians and the satirists, and they come, for the entertainers and stuff. They come for them first in many ways, because if you can mock them, and they can't battle that, traditionally speaking, with legislation or policy, and then you keep exposing them as wearing no clothes, so they go there first. But I'm taking what happened as a win. And by the way, did you see that Sinclair has relented now, and Sinclair is no longer
Yes,
preempting them? So
I did.
more wins. Like, this again, this is proof positive, especially in capitalism, that we still drive the bus. It feels
Yeah.
like we don't. We lose on many different levels and many different fronts. And yes, there is a sustained attack on this little experiment of ours. And the call is coming from within the house. But at the end of the day, what happened with Kimmel and continues to unfold with Kimmel should give us all some hope.
Tina absolutely loves your words.
Oh, thanks, Dina. That means so much to me. I appreciate that. Thanks. That's the
um,
whole goal. Is to say things that other people like that resonate, so that we can have these conversations with our friends and our family and our coworkers and other and everybody else in our lives.
what I have seen from the past 8 or 9 months of this Trump, you can't even call it a presidency, but whatever. It's very tit for tat.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is like, like his supporters, his followers are all like, well, you guys did that first. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that the mentality that we're getting down on? Because you realize you're not going to be in the bird dog seat forever. You're not going to always be in control of all three houses, excuse me, of both houses and the White House.
Hmm.
uh, at some point we're going to crawl back in there, and if that's the game, tit for tat, you got to expect that it's going to come back on you. So if you have a problem with it, right? If that's your issue, then let's not keep this thing going, right? Let's
Mm-mm.
resolve what the hell we can. Um, Donald Trump really should be focusing on bigger issues like bringing down prices and releasing all the Epstein files,
Mhm.
instead of focusing on these trivial, minor, ridiculous grievances that he's carried with him for years. I joked in that story about the escalator thing. The escalator thing. He literally wanted to investigate the United Nations because his dumbass staffer accidentally triggered a safety thing that stopped the escalator.
Yeah. I want you to they just think that picture, by the way, there's two pictures. There's that one, and there's one where he's making a face and she's making a face at the same
Oh, I
time. The
missed that one.
indignity, right? But he's just like you can, he's seething, right? Like this escalator stopped, and for me, the insult, the spit
Yeah.
in my face that this escalator. By the way, friends, as Melania figured out pretty quickly, because she's I don't know if you guys know this, but she's a genius. She speaks 5 languages, apparently
Oh,
none of
that's
which are
right.
English. Right. So she figured out that when an escalator stops working, there's a famous joke about escalators that can't break because when they stop working, they become stairs.
Boom.
So up she goes, and he's like, okay. Then he gets to the top of, as I wrote about, Mount Stopped Escalator. Like he finally trudges, he lumbers up the 12 stairs, and he gets to the top, and he says to the Secretary General of the UN, "Your escalator broke." The first thing he says, that whole thing was a shit show. But I wrote an entirely traditional essay on my Substack about that escalator thing. And then I looked at it and I was like, nope. I was like,
Mhm.
the fact that because he put out a post the next morning, he's still seething about how it's going to be investigated and blah blah blah. Honestly, they were just stopping just short of nuking the UN. No. So I was like, no, this has to be ridiculous. It has to be parody because this is ridiculous. So I wrote a whole essay from the perspective of the escalator, who is like,
No.
I am escalator 17B, UN, New York City, New York. And it confesses to a crime it didn't commit because it wants to protect all of its fellow escalators and machinery, but also the innocent mechanics and service people and code checks. And what it admits to, which is it's not really confessing. It says it's confessing to protect others, but it decides to confess ridiculously that it stopped when he got on there in solidarity with his cousin, her cousin, Asandria. Asandria is the escalator from Trump Tower who carried Trump and Melania down to his speech announcing his candidacy.
2015. Yeah.
Correct. So Asandria has never really recovered. She has PTSD. She's they have horse whisperers, but escalator whisperers who are trying to, help her heal from that trauma. But when Donald Trump stepped on 17B instantly remembered Asandria and said no, and would not carry him. And then when he got to the top of stopped escalator, his friend Lucius, the teleprompter, Lucius owed him a favor because back at the World Health Organization, there was this slide of minions in leather harnesses, and 17B stopped that from
Uh-oh. Did I lose you, Joe? Did I lose your signal? You appear to be frozen. So what we're going to do while you figure out there we go. There she is.
It's, oh my God, it's the machines. The machines, they're sending the machines to silence me.
Was that Lucius?
No, Lucius works he doesn't practice the dark arts for the bad side. He helps the good side. I don't know. It might have been Elon.
That is a fascinating, incredibly unique perspective you took for that Substack. And immediately following this show, I am going to read that because that sounds funny as hell.
I had a lot of fun with that one. It was really outside the box for me. My readers were probably like, "Is she okay?" But I don't know if you know McSweeney's internet tendency.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you have ever. I don't know if your community here has read McSweeney's Internet Tendency, or if you guys go check out their stuff. But I've long been a fan. It's a parody writing website mostly, and they are literally hilarious, and they give me some sane. And I've long wanted to write something that would match the energy of McSweeney's.
What's it called? McSweeney's what?
McSweeney's Internet Tendency. And it's mostly parody. They're very clever, very smart. We know one of the writers, I can't remember her name right now, but Yes,
I'm old
please check
school.
it
I
out.
I still write things on pads instead of
Are you joking?
yeah.
Sam Schwartz, our mutual, was giving me like he was laughing at me today because I'm like I don't know the Unabomber or something. I have multiple notebooks. I am this the terminally online human being who does everything on paper, everything except
Same.
tweet. Yeah,
Same.
I love it. Yeah, birds of a feather. But
Let
anyway,
me
yeah, that was
I
ridiculous with the UN. It was ridiculous.
so I wanted to I wanted to ask you if you had gotten a chance to watch his speech because I've seen more of his speeches than I care to admit.
Yeah.
Um, you know as well as everyone that I am not a fan of his. With that said, I was absolutely mortified just as an American citizen. It's like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
say what you will, like we constantly razzing him every day all day long, but it feels different when he's like speaking to the world because it's like, all right, dude, you are representing us. Just don't you don't have to sound
Mm-hmm.
like the reincarnation of JFK. Just don't sound like a complete tool. And that is precisely what he did. It was so embarrassing. I think probably one of the worst things, whether it was him saying that his countries were shit or or it was when he claimed that he ended 7 wars. Like, dude, you were talking to the representatives of all of those nations
Mm-hmm.
whose wars you claim to have ended, and they can
Mm-hmm.
all refute your words personally. What are you
Mm-hmm.
even saying?
Mm-mm. Again, it's Orwellian. It's, I mean, this is the same person who will tell you that he's made drugs 14,000% less expensive. Like he just lies. He lies and then he tells one lie and then he builds on that lie. Like no one ever heard the word groceries until me. Like
Mhm.
what? No, what? No. Like I've ended it was 5 wars, then it was 6 wars, then it was 7. Today he said I think we're going to have an end to Gaza. So that'll be 8. But like the BBC completely destroyed that whole thing and the press. They're so anemic now that they don't push back. Like
Mm.
you cannot treat him like these things are normal because
Yeah.
then again with the lie once the lie gets out there it's absorbed into the narrative and it gets passed off as truth and then he's on to the next lie so that one just stays it just percolates as the truth and there's no factual basis to any of it so like the press it is their jobs
Yeah.
um to call it out and to hold him accountable for all of these lies. He said today, getting on whatever, the Marine One. The economy is moving in the right direction. Prices are coming down. Inflation is literally non existent. And the Democrats will own a government shutdown. Dude, you have the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office, and all those things you just said are lies.
Yeah.
But you're going to pin a shutdown on the minority party? I don't think so. But once he tells the lie, they move on to the next lie, and then it's, oh, by the way, did you know that I'm building a ballroom? I mean, by the way, did you see that I put up a picture of Biden? It's an Autopen. Like, also, can we sidebar on that, friends? Just real fast. I just got to get this off my chest. Can we sidebar? When my kids were little, my daughter loved to color on my walls. She just loved it, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
why? What is her incessant need to color on the walls? She has paper, she has coloring books, she has all the things she could ever need. That's Donald Trump. He gets in there and he's like, I need more gold. And like this thing that he did in
Ah,
that
yeah.
corridor between the Oval and the pictures, and now he's got the auto pen up there. Like he's like a freaking toddler who's just like, I want to color on the walls. That's what it feels. Pee or color. I don't know. Take your pick. But like, ugh.
And then the other world leaders. I've been seeing videos where people are talking about how other world leaders are talking amongst themselves on how to best cajole this man child. There was a thing that came out. I don't know if you saw that where they were I think it was the Daily Mirror said
Mm,
that people are talking the world leaders are referring to him as a grown man baby. Did you
yeah.
see that? Yeah, it was
No,
like it was
that's accurate.
front page news. So it's like it's the entire world. Before they were laughing in his face in his first term, they were laughing in his face. Like when he made his UN speech and they all laughed at him when he was talking about how grand he was. He gave his own MAGA speech to them and they were like, ha, you're delusional. Now they're laughing behind his back because they realize that A, he's unhinged, but B, and this is the most important part, is that he doesn't have any guardrails around him to prevent him from doing crazy shit like imposing um, ridiculous tariffs on every country, including the ones that have no that only have penguins on them.
Yeah.
Um, and so they are everyone is trying to mollify this overgrown man child so that they can, because they still have to deal with this dude. It's not like they can pretend like we don't have to deal with Donald Trump, because he is, like it or hate him, he is the gatekeeper for getting all things that are America, right?
Yeah. I mean, think about what that says about him, that the rest of the world has had to learn that just like Tim Cook, who brought him that stupid little trinket, you have to flatter him, right? You have to
Yeah.
you have to soothe his ego. You have to you know compliment him and say what a great job he is doing, how exceptional he is.
Like South Park.
Right,
I don't know
right.
if you saw that. It was
Oh
very
yeah.
funny.
Right, like, right? You have to whether or not it's true, you have to stop drawing or painting pictures of his teeny peen, but, the rest
Yeah.
of the world has figured him out pretty fast,
Yeah.
sadly, because it looks like, capitulation on their parts, but it's just, "I don't want a tariff. Do you want a tariff? I don't want sanctions. Do you want sanctions? I don't wanna be the one who laughs at him." So, but they gave this tepid applause, it's like a studio audience applauding for, like, the people's court, you know what I mean? It's
Mm.
not real, but it's like you can't they know enough now where if you upset dear leader, it's gonna cost you, your country, your economy, your people real money, real prosperity, that's the thing. It's like he's a petulant, hangry, dirty diapered, bratty baby that has like someone handed him the car keys, the mortgage payments, you know what I mean? Like the ring camera, like he's got all the power,
Yeah.
but he shouldn't be in charge of any of it. But they have to play the game. Like it's gross. It's so embarrassing and diminishing as a country.
So the other day, I feel like it was this weekend. He posted something on True Social uh, that it looked like it was actually meant to be a DM or an email between himself and Pam Bondi, um, basically saying like, "What are we doing? Why haven't you moved forward on my enemies list?" Basically, and he
Mhm.
listed people by name,
Yep.
Schiff, James Comey, Adam Schiff, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. And lo and behold, just a few short days later, what's his face? James Comey was indicted. Now, I don't know how well you remember 2016. I personally am no fan of James Comey. I don't give a shit about the dude, to be perfectly honest, because he
No.
really did screw Hillary Clinton
All of us.
just before the election, right? And
Yeah.
hence, thank you, hence all of us. He screwed all of us by pulling that shit. So it's interesting that he's got such a hard on for getting at James Comey after he basically helped to make Trump's first term in
Mhm.
office a reality. With that said, it's unnerving, despite my own personal feelings about James Comey, it's unnerving that Trump is using his power to blatantly go after his enemies. And where does it stop?
It it doesn't, right? So it doesn't, and it's all about retribution. It's all about personal grievance. It's not, it's ironic, right? Because this is the party that when the DOJ under Joe Biden dragged its heels, thanks Merrick Garland, and finally pursued charges when state attorneys general and district attorneys in cities went after him because of the laws that he'd broken. They cried about weaponization of the federal government using the judiciary against your political rivals. Here we are. They're not even, not only did that not happen with Joe Biden was very clear about not having any role or any influence in those investigations, but they're not even hiding it now. He tweeted that or posted that or truthed that or whatever. Ended up, I think I heard he took it down, but ironically. And like you said, a couple of days later, here we are with Comey, who I don't love either. You know what I mean? Trust me. He did it well. He was like the final nail in the coffin for us in 2016, and all of this now, in many ways, is thanks to him, which is gross and sad. But what he did do later was he held Trump to account. He blew the whistle. He reported the truth. He was public in his criticisms of the overreach that Donald Trump was committing, and that is a cardinal sin. You cannot do that to a malignant sociopathic narcissist. You cannot hold them accountable for their actions, which is why also two of the first people he went after, one of which was on my podcast this week, Miles Taylor, the other of which was Chris Krebs. And what Chris Krebs's crime was saying there was no cheating in the
2020 election.
That's his crime. That's what he has an investigation
his job.
into, right? He did his job. He did his job and made sure an election was secure, and then had the audacity to say, no, that election was secure. And for that, there's an investigation into him. I mean, that's
you get fired by Trump for telling the truth. He did that to the person of the job numbers person.
Yes. And then he gets a new person, and they're like, these are the numbers. Like, they suck. And it's like, oh no, those are not the numbers. Actually, those numbers are Biden's numbers, and we need new numbers. And actually,
turn them upside down.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Keep firing them all? And don't forget about Alexander Vindman. He fired both Alex and Eugene Vindman for Alex having the audacity to tell the truth. And that's the pattern, right? So Adam Schiff held him accountable. All of the, and this burns his ass, all of the January 6th committee members that are protected by Autopen pardon, and I'm really doing that tongue in cheek, because a pardon is absolute, even as it pertains to the disgusting and loathsome attackers on January 6th. There is no question about a pardon being absolute. There is no debate on this. But he is trying, because he hates them so much. He hates Kinzinger. He hates Cheney. And he wants nothing more than to make them pay first. And he said today, there's no list, just like there's no Epstein list, which, by the way, Elon's on. He said there's no list of people that they're going to go after.
What?
But they're coming after more. Oh, you didn't see that?
Elon is on that? No. What?
Oh, guys, did you see this? Okay. Whoa, I need to send this to you.
Am I literally just finding? Am I like late? When did this happen?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now. So the let's see. I'm going to go back here in time to the Oversight Dems on Twitter. I'm going to send this to you. This is not the one I want to send, but
Joe, when did this happen? I'm just
3 hours ago. 3 hours ago.
Okay.
So okay, here it is. This is what I'm going to send you. So friends, if you haven't seen it, the Oversight Committee released some redacted files. I don't know.
Joe, look at the screen. Look at the screen here. This guy, Eric.
Yes. Okay,
Savage,
Eric. Exactly. Okay. They
Musk.
show meetings with Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, and a potential visit to Epstein's Island for Elon Musk. Prince Andrew is listed as a passenger on Epstein's jet. But the question about Musk is Saturday, December 6, 2014. Reminder, Elon Musk to Island, December 6th. parentheses. Is this still
Keep
happening?
that up there.
Question mark. Parentheses. Now, Elon famously,
The
infamously,
fuck?
remember when Elon said Donald Trump's name when they were having their little bitch fight? Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
maybe
Why
just
was he
maybe,
talking shit if he's on the list too?
maybe he knows. Maybe he knows. Maybe he knows.
That's why
And what?
he stopped. That's why he stopped talking shit after. Oh wow! Can I just show you this here? Because this bugs me to no end. Right here, he posted. I think this is from yesterday. He wrote, "Justice in America, one of the worst human beings this country has ever been exposed to, is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI." So look at what he's written here. One of the worst human beings this country's ever been exposed to. And what should have followed is something like, is Jeffrey Epstein, is, is Ghislaine Maxwell, is, convicted child sex offenders, child sex traffickers. That's what should, like, you're having a shit fit over a guy that you're investigating about a weak uh perjury case at best. That's what you're having a conniption over. Perjury. This is something that Donald Trump does like fish swim and birds fly. Perjury he has an issue with, but child sex trafficking, when is the last time you ever heard Donald Trump say something even remotely negative as that, as how he described James Comey, or how he described that Catholic bishop who said, "Please have mercy"? He was like, for crying out loud, he can't say a damn negative thing. All the worst thing he said about Jeffrey Epstein is, "I'm not a fan." That was it. Not a fan. Ghislaine Maxwell, what did he say about her?
I wish her well.
That's it.
Well,
What is happening here?
this
What
is
is happening?
this is a deeply broken individual. I hesitate to call him a human being because it's like, I'm not sure. I've given this a lot of thought. I mean, from Mary Trump's accounting, Donald Trump was throwing rocks at a baby in a crib in the neighboring yard when he was about 5 years old. And I know that like 5-year-olds do crazy things, but 5-year-olds don't typically do stuff that kind of malevolent and malicious, like unless there's something a little bit wrong. And the thing about Donald Trump, there's data point after data point after data point. I mean, we have, I don't know if we have enough time to go into this. He idolizes people who break the rules, people who do the wrong thing, people who don't subscribe to constraints, because he thinks that that's weakness. He thinks that having a moral code, that having some compulsion to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to stand up for others, to have love in your heart versus hate, that's all weakness. And I could,
Like Putin.
posit what?
Like Putin.
Amen. This is also why, again, in his psychology, which I am not a psychologist, but like we've had enough data points now, which is why he idolizes Vladimir Putin, Erdogan, Kim Jong-un, Xi, Hungary, Orban. This is why he idolizes them. But look who he mocks. We also remember Gallagher, the Navy SEAL, I think he was he a Navy SEAL who was shooting girls and old men and was tried and convicted of war crimes. And then Pete Hegseth goes and says, he didn't do those things. You really should pardon him. And he did. He idolizes strongmen, despots, authoritarians. If the reporting that Ivana once said that he kept a copy of Hitler's speeches on his bedside table is correct, it tells you a lot about him. Look at the people he's mocked. John McCain, generals, soldiers, Greta Thunberg. He mocks people who do the right thing, people who are compelled by righteousness and morality and decency and compassion. Joe Biden, this is his whole view, his whole worldview from when he was a child, because he's broken, and we could diagnose that all day long, is upside down, inside out, and on fire, right? So if you follow the rules, this is why his retribution against those who hold him accountable is so acute. Because Comey, Republican, by the way, still did the right thing.
That's right.
When he tried to strong arm Comey to do his bidding, Comey, a Republican, said no.
Mhm.
This is the thing with Liz Cheney, with Adam Kinzinger. If he cannot get you to break, if he cannot get you to not follow the rules, if he cannot get you to do his bidding above all, and not be so weak as to subscribe to mores and folkways and expectations of a civil society, then you are weak incarnate. You're weakness incarnate. And
Yeah.
this is who he is. Look at the people he has rewarded with power. Pete Hegseth settled out of court for beating up a woman, I think it was battering a woman, right? Pete Hegseth is now in charge of our Department of Defense. I refuse to call it Department of War, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah. I mean,
so
this is a deeply, deeply unwell person. And and it makes me really sad, because I just want to say this before I stop. You and I've had this conversation. Okay, well, that's just insane. And by the way,
I'm sorry.
I tweeted, who the hell hugs a
disgusting.
grieving widow like this? That thing has 9.1 million views, because we could talk about that all day long. But I just want to say, and I do want to talk about that, because the second I saw that, a lot of people probably said the same thing. What did it remind you of? What was the instantaneous reminder for so many people? Was the
Jeffrey Epstein dancing video, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But just last thing. The reason that this upsets me, and I think a lot of people so much, is because as parents, and if you're not a parent and you love anybody in the world, and especially young impressionable people, hopefully this will resonate with you. It flies in the face of every single thing we try to teach our kids not to be. Every single thing we model for our kids is do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. That taking care of others, that being compassionate, being empathetic, being equitable, being kind, being fair, not saying demeaning, horrible, mean, vindictive things is a good thing. Like every single thing he represents directly contradicts every message you would ever want your child to grow up with, so that they become adults who pay that forward. And as a mom, seeing it rewarded with so much power, not once but twice, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Yeah. The thing that irritates me, well, everything irritates me. Honestly, there's so much. I have to pick and choose the thing that's gonna irritate me the most. But it's when he has these press briefings, or whenever he's in front of a camera, he cannot keep Joe Biden's name out of his mouth. And I'm sorry, you know what? Joe might have had his faults, right? He wasn't a perfect guy. There were some things that I'm sure he wishes he could undo or take back over the years or whatever. But at his core, essentially, good man, loves his
100%.
kids, treats people with respect and dignity. That's just who that's who he is. He cannot stop the negativity pouring out of his mouth about this man who is suffering from cancer that has spread to his bones. All right. He can't stop saying that. There was this one video that came out. He was speaking to a group of people where he said, if you find yourself feeling sorry for him, don't, because he's a bad man. He's vicious. What? How can you even say that? And so here he is with this White House display of all the different presidents, and he takes Joe Biden's picture and replaces it with Autopen. Like, I get it. If you're like a teenager, right? If you're like a juvenile and you have that mentality, then that's funny to you, right? But if you're a world leader who meets with other world leaders, you don't do that. You're just breaking. It's the same thing as he took President Obama's and George Bush's portraits to a hidden stairwell. Like, Okay, you know what? At the end of the day, it's not hurting either of them. They have their legacies. I'm sure President Obama is happier with his own legacy than George Bush is happy with his own. But both of them are towering giants in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. Again, though, I think some part of a couple things. I think some part of Trump is frozen in time as some at some age, whether it's 13, 16, something was suspended in time where he never got past that, right? Like something I think people have said his father sending him to a military academy, which was very rough on him because his father couldn't control him, and he was not a good kid. I don't think it doesn't seem to me that he was the recipient of a lot of parental love or otherwise. So I think psychologically speaking, there's that layer, and I think like he just never got beyond something stopped in time, emotionally, mentally, psychologically for him. And I think JD Vance also, we can go into that another time, but
Yep.
there's parallels there, right? And I think so much of the origin story of their malevolence comes from unhealed, unresolved, unrecognized personal trauma. Being a person who has tried very hard to reconcile personal trauma, you see people out there in the world trying to hurt other people, and your first question should be why, right? Like this isn't just a person who is mean. This is a person who wants bad things to befall innocent human beings. This is a person who wanted to punish Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth
Mm,
Meyers, their entire they're all everyone who works for them. Like
because of jokes.
right. So he's very it's that vindictive streak. It's not just like he's mean, he's vindictive and he wants bad things for people. But it's again Joe Biden, and he is the only president I've ever met, but I've met him, I think, 5 times, which is a humble brag, but, like, he's just whatever. I might be the biggest Joe Biden
That's
stan you'll
cool, man.
ever
Just
meet.
go ahead with it.
I might be the biggest Joe Biden stan you'll ever meet in your life. Like, I'm in, like, I worship him to,
I'm
well,
not mad at you.
probably
I'm not
right.
mad at you.
But he is the opposite in every way, and all you need to do is take 2 moments in time and put them side by side. One, Donald Trump gets shot at, we're gonna do this, Don Jr.,
Yes.
air
Yep.
quotes,
I'm with
whatever
you.
you wanna call it, right, in Butler, Pennsylvania, and what does Joe Biden do? He does a presidential address from the Oval Office where he talks about toning down the rhetoric, and he extends support and condolences and all the things, right, that a
Yeah.
president is supposed to do in a
Yeah.
moment like that. Joe Biden did it. He never said good, or he never said he's faking it, or he never said what's the maxi pad on his ear all about. And
He called him.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, the second moment in time is Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis. Joe Biden is a public servant for what? 50 years? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
50, his
Yeah.
whole adult life. He has lost a wife, a daughter, and an adult son before he has left this earthly plane. And when he gets diagnosed with stage 5 metastasized to the bone cancer, does Donald Trump extend condolences? Does he say any word of kindness? No. In
No.
fact, now to your point, he says, don't feel sorry for him. So if you
Mhm.
take those two things side by side, Joe Biden is an inherently decent man. I would
Yeah.
argue to a fault. I'm not saying he doesn't have a temper, but to Donald Trump, again, it goes back to that being weakness. That
Yeah.
is weakness. That's why he can stand on the graves at Arlington National Cemetery and say to John Kelly, who lost a son in combat, I don't understand it. What was in it for them?
Suckers and
That's who he
losers.
is. That's why
Yeah.
Joe Biden cannot escape his little whatever is in there in that cranium of his. It eats him alive because he will never be able to sacrifice for something greater than himself.
Uh, you couldn't have said it better. You could not have said it better. You hit it right, hit the nail right on the head. And I'll say this, like, there have been several times during both of his presidencies where Donald Trump had the opportunity to, like, and don't laugh when I say this, but he had the opportunity to rise above, right? To rise above the rancor and be an actual hero. Don't laugh. Don't laugh.
No, we have to laugh. We don't laugh. Yeah.
But no. But okay, so the first one was when COVID happened, right? He could have risen above petty partisanship. He could have risen above all that nonsense and saved fucking, a million lives easily, right? Just telling people to wear a mask or, do whatever. He could have been responsible about it, but he wasn't, right? Another time was during the George Floyd protests. He could have reached out and said something, to both sides that would have made a difference. He didn't. Right now, right now, during this period where people are pointing fingers at Republicans, they're pointing fingers at Democrats, and trans. Anytime there's a shooting, before the bullet has even fully lodged itself in the person's skin, they're like, "It was a trans person. We don't even know what their name was." You're automatically assuming it was a trans, for crying out loud. But he could have risen above all of that and totally scored with both sides. Instead, he chose to be the most base, most disgusting, divisive person you can imagine. And that's why in my mind, he will always be the worst president ever. I don't know about the worst human, but definitely the worst president ever.
I think if he had no constraints at all, I honestly think he might be the worst person ever. I think that he is still somewhat shackled by we the people at this moment in time. And also, I think he's somewhat shackled by whatever's going on with his health. But I want to point out, to your point, right? Like what he said at Charlie Kirk's memorial service with pyrotechnics and scrolling, grifting like advertisements, which was just surreal. What he said in that moment was that, oh, here we go. Yeah, thank you. I don't know how you say name. Narayan is right.
I guess.
And I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. I'm gonna call you N. But what he said in that moment, when the people who were there, a lot of them said that why they were there was because they wanted to see people coming together in a moment where it was unifying. Whatever, like if that's your jam and that's what you were going there for, I'm not gonna yuck your yum. That's great. Maybe that was the thing, for a lot of people. He stood up there and he went off script and he said, the difference between him and Charlie Kirk, and by the way, fact check, this is not true. Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he said the difference between us is that Charlie Kirk didn't hate his opponents and he wanted good things for them. And he said, I hate them. Not me. I hate them. And I don't want good things for them.
Yeah.
Think about that. He is standing at a memorial service for, someone who we could all agree, and many of us have agreed, and publicly so, that he should not have died for his for any, shouldn't have been murdered. He should not have been killed for his speech, etc. No one wishes that upon anybody.
Nope.
But what he did was, instead, and this has been true of him forever, is instead of bringing the temperature down, he is incapable of doing that, right? Not only is he incapable of it, he thrives on the chaos. Is he took an already massive fire, a giant 5-alarm fire, and he showed up with gasoline. And he has doubled down on that rhetoric almost every single day since then. He has now gotten to a point where we are basically, and I mean we by the left, anybody on the left is an enemy of the American people. Stephen Miller called us a domestic terrorist organization. The people on the left, the Democrats, Trump keeps going out there and he keeps saying that radical, extremist left, the enemy of the people, they hate America. Think about what that rhetoric is going to lead to, because we don't have to guess, because it's already done that. The Tree of Life, the shooting in Texas, the shooting in Buffalo, they all cited New Zealand. Others have cited this kind of rhetoric. And while we're saying we don't want political violence of any kind, The president of the United States of America is saying half of the country is worth hating, and they are
Mhm.
an enemy. They are your enemy, and they want you to die. And he said today, this is going to come back. I'm paraphrasing. This is going to
Yep.
come back against them. That is stand back and stand by on crack.
Yeah.
That is inciting. That is every accusation is a confession. That is them putting a target on our backs. Period.
Mhm. Yeah, and he would have. I'm pretty sure before he made that statement, um, he was asked about Democrats lowering the temperature or something, or uh, who's responsible for the political um, uh, the the political rhetoric being so intense, and he's constantly blaming it has nothing to do with the right wing, it's the left, it's the radical left Democrats, the
Yep.
radical left Democrats are to blame, and then right after that he'll turn around and say, there's some violence coming for you guys, because Republicans are tougher.
Yeah. And the thing is
Insane.
too, the thing is, I'm not giving him credit for a lot, but he
Look at
really
our friend. Look at our friend here. How
oh,
close are
jeez.
they to locating Antifa headquarters?
Don't tell them. Guys, don't tell them. I'm so scared
That's
they're
a
gonna
good one.
discover it in the basement of my local pizza place. The thing is, like, the thing is this, like, somebody said, I think, that he wants us to hate each other. He wants division. This is true. And, the reason that this works, right? And the reason that is by Stephen Miller's design, but Donald Trump is happy to pour the gasoline, is because if they can get us to hate each other over manufactured things that poke this emotional, visceral bear that is they're not real, like whether that's
Mhm,
people eating your cats and your dogs, or a trans person you've never met in your entire life taking your daughter's spot on the softball team, which isn't happening. Whatever it is, these these guttural base emotional response triggers. If they can get us to divide over those things, then they know that the stuff that we are increasingly having in common, which is everything is more expensive, healthcare is harder to get, you can't get access to food assistance, your schools are being defunded, your air is less safe, your water is less safe, your food is less safe, your kids are being forced to go work in factories because the schools are shutting down and they're going to 40 weeks if they exist at all of these things that we're about to endure as a collective. If we realize we're enduring these things as a collective,
mhm.
then there's strength in our unity. Then we can say, let's put our differences aside. This is fucked up. I am
Yeah,
suffering. You are suffering. We
yeah,
are suffering the same.
yeah.
But if we're distracted with these culture war bullshit manufactured issues of us versus them, we are never going to coalesce and galvanize around the real stuff, the real soup that we're all stewing in. That's the thing. That's the design. That's the strategy. And that's why there is power in conversations, because if you can
Mhm,
connect, your neighborhood, you
yeah.
don't give a fuck how your neighbor votes on, like, if you need WD-40 because your fence is like creaking and it won't close or whatever, you don't care that Bill voted for Trump. Bill's got WD-40. This is how we move the needle. We remember our communities, right? We remember what actually unites us and what actually what brings us together, what we have in common versus what we don't. That's what they don't want. So if they have you hating each other over bullshit, you're not going to go ask Bill because Bill eats dogs. You're not going to ask Bill for WD-40. Doesn't matter that Bill doesn't eat dogs. They want you to think that. So we have to remember that Bill doesn't eat dogs and Bill has WD-40. I don't know if that
Here's
makes any sense, but I've had half
no,
a bottle of half a
not
bottle of
only
wine.
does it make perfect sense, I think it's right on the money. I think it's brilliant. What I hear you saying, right, is that going forward, in order for us to um defeat this threat of authoritarianism, this threat of fascism, in order to move the needle back, excuse me, the needle in the conversation back to where it needs to be, is that we have to stay focused and not go for the old head fake of culture wars, right? And stay focused on what matters. And what matters is, at the end of the day, not that you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican. What matters is that our groceries are too damn expensive, and that the rent is too damn high, and mortgage rates, and all these, life is unaffordable now. And it was primarily because Donald Trump has made it so. We are careening towards a government shutdown, by the way, with the White House, the House, and the Senate all Republican controlled, right? So that's on them. We're careening towards that because Donald Trump didn't want to take a meeting with Democrats who are fighting to restore Medicaid access, right? When you start going after people's healthcare costs are crazy expensive. And I don't care what he says about some fantastical 1,500%. What the fuck are you talking about? 1,500% discount on prescription drugs? Are you insane? The real story is that he cut $1 trillion from Medicaid to give it to the rich man, the richest people in the country, right?
Yep.
That's the real problem. He cut all those SNAP benefits from people who can't barely afford to feed their kids. He cut that to give it to the wealthy so they can buy another super yacht or another private jet. So we need to stay focused on that shit. We just had here on my block here, we just had a block party, right? And it's the first block party I've had in forever. And it wasn't a real block party because we weren't outside. It was at somebody's house, but it was a block party because everybody on the block was at this house.
That's fun.
And some of the folks in the neighborhood I already knew who's Trumpy and who's not Trumpy, right?
Yeah.
But that didn't keep me away from talking about gas prices, for instance. How much does it cost you to fill up that truck, right? You can bring up conversation if you want to keep things, relatively polite. You can still bring up shit like that, right? Everybody talks about gas prices, but we all got on the same page with our fucking electric bills, which are insane right now.
Yes, they are.
Which are insane. The price of beef.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about this shit because we all have to shop for our groceries. We don't need ID to shop for the groceries, mind you, right?
But groceries, groceries. Is that a new word? Groceries.
It is brand new. It just came up.
I'm gonna write it down.
Trump invented it.
And is it GROW? Is it
right.
like grow? How do we say that? Let's see. How we say that. Sorry, groceries. Right.
But yeah, keep the discussion on the things that we have in common, and and forget about all the other distractions, the things that they want us, the things they want us to argue about, which don't amount to a hill of beans. Yeah.
1,000%. And look, love him or leave him. You don't have to be his biggest fan. You don't have to be his cheerleader. You're not going to marry him. You're not going to have his baby. You're not going to wake up in bed next to him in the morning with regret. But to that end, Mom Dami in New York City has gotten Trump voters to vote for him in primaries.
What?
Tons and tons and tons of them. Why? To your very, very point. He says things like, shit is too expensive. I see you. And that sucks. And I want to do something about it. Whether or not you agree with his philosophies for how, whether or not you agree with the whole spectrum of his ideas. Again, I would argue you cannot be Veruca Salt in this moment, friends. Veruca Salt is what got us here. You're not getting the golden goose. You're not getting an egg. You're not getting an everlasting gobstopper. You're going down a chute to an Oompa Loompa song. That's what you're getting. So I again, I'm going to reserve my own thoughts on some of the things that he has said and some of his positions on things to say that what we should take from that is it the way he has managed to get those Trump voters to support him is by telling the truth about people's lived experience and saying, I see you. That's
Yeah.
not political. What that is reading the room and then reading the needs of the people in the room. And
Yeah.
that's a lesson the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, and all of the rest of us should be heeding, because that is a path out of this dystopian reality. Because what Donald Trump is so good at is making you think that the reality that he is telling you that you are feeling is reality that you are feeling. We had an exponentially better economy under Joe Biden. We were the envy of our peer nations, but Donald Trump told you, wrapped up in a xenophobic, racist, bigoted, sexist bow, that your life was terrible because of Joe Biden and the Democrats. And they drove that home with this poison pill of hate. And the Democrats have an opportunity to do the opposite with the truth and your true lived experience. And we need to embrace that more and more.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Joe, I am so grateful for you joining me here. I want to make sure we have time because we were well over time. And my apologies. Our
I talk a
discussion ran a
lot, you know
little
what I mean?
long.
Plus, like I said, I'm like halfway through a half bottle of Miomi Pinot Noir, so I've been lubricated, so to speak.
But I wanted to make sure we had time to discuss a project that you've been working on, which I think is vital for where we are right now, today, right here, in that our traditional media is not cutting it. They are not rising to the occasion. They're not meeting this moment where you have to call bullshit and stop with the sane washing and stop with the both sidesing, right? You stop giving us this, well, what Donald Trump has just said is just anything Donald Trump says is bullshit. Let's start from that as a baseline, right? Stop
Mhm,
giving him credit for saying anything that means anything, right? That's
mhm.
rooted in reality, because it's all bullshit. What you have done is put together uh, a network called the Siren Network, and I would love for you to discuss what the Siren Network, what your mission statement is. And I had the pleasure of participating in your very first launch,
Yes,
your
you
your
did.
launch show, which I have here on the screen. It was with myself, Tara
Mhm.
Setmeyer, and Mr. Harry Dunn.
Yep.
Uh, talk to our audience, please, and tell them what the Siren Network is all about.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for joining my very first ever episode of the Siren podcast. It was important to me that the people that I love who are out there speaking truth to power in this moment were highlighted, particularly on my first ever episode of it. And thank you, Zelda, and thank you everybody else for all your wonderful support. Um, you know, I identified something that was there were a couple of things that were wrong in August of 2024. I was looking around and I was like, it feels like we're always playing on defense when it comes to the narrative.
Mm,
Coming
mhm.
from the right, and that again that was indicative of the fact that the right's new media new content uh positioning in that ecosystem was trampling on us. They had tons more accounts. They were very
Yep.
supportive of each other. All of their electeds did everybody's shows. Trump was on every podcast, blanky blanky blank. And I was like, well,
Mhm.
why aren't we doing all that? Like seems like an opportunity here.
Yeah.
And legacy media is not built for this moment. And I know there's great journalists out there. There are tremendously talented and amazing journalists who still do the work every day. And I don't want to, by any means, like diminish the value itself is not built for this moment, because legacy media by design thinks it needs to position itself as fair and balanced, right? Like, and fair and
Thank you.
balanced, if it looks like, oh, the earth is round, Chuck, and then they pass it to, oh, now let's hear from flat earthers. Like that's not fair
Yeah.
and balanced, right? Like that's objectively like, no, we know the earth is not flat, but
Right.
here on network AB's DZ, whatever you want to call it, we need to give equal airtime to both points of view. And it's like, that's not a point of view. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
So they are beholden to that. And then of course you have corporate, greed and corporate influence, and you see Sinclair and others and Disney capitulating to all of that. And
Yeah.
so they're not meeting the moment. So we cannot really rely on them to be the sirens, both the alarm siren and the siren songstresses of mythology sirens. We can't count upon them to do that. But what we do have, what we can build, is a bigger footprint in this new media world where it
Mhm.
should look more like what America looks like, more like
Yeah.
what your neighborhood looks like, what your friend group looks like, what your family looks like. It's been too long that the same handful of very talented and very impactful and very important people, it's been too long that they have had all the access to all of the lawmakers and that they get to set the narrative, because I think they've been missing a huge swath of the American people. And I don't have to guess at that. We have plenty of diagnostics and analytics to look at the 2024 election and know that we just walked away from
Yeah.
giant chunks of this country. So the siren was established by myself and my friend Sam Schwartz out of this idea of a couple of things. We want to amplify new voices, a true tapestry, a myriad of perspectives and outlooks and thoughts and lived experiences and lived realities, so that people can feel seen in other people that they see. Right, like, so like that was our big one where we had, I mean, look at me with all those Gen Z creators who think of
Yeah.
me as like their mom, which is hysterical because I think of myself as like still 12 years old in many ways. But
Just
we
for
had,
the
yeah,
audience here, from top left, that's Olivia Juliana. In the middle
yeah,
there, that's Gavin Newsom. On the far right there, that's Aaron Parnas. Below him is Harry. Um, damn,
system.
what's Harry Sisson? And of
Yep.
course, there's JoJo right there.
Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build conversations where we all talk to each other in real ways, not talking at people. It's not like this stagnant, anemic, like, I've heard this canned stuff 5,000 times. Like, talk to me. And I
Yeah.
think the way you talk to people is you have a conversation with somebody else that is real, that like is the kind of conversation you have with your girls, or you'd have with your guys, you'd have with your friends, you'd have with your family.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
takes this sort of like, that's just politics, that doesn't impact me shit, out of the equation. And also, I just think we should be building a world, online, virtually, etc., where we uplift each other in whatever ways we possibly can. You and I uplift each other all the time, and we pay all the things forward that we've been gifted. And so, like, I want to build, and I wanted to build a world like that online. And the siren, and I'm very, very proud of it. Sam is the man behind the curtain. He has done all the work, and I'm just the ADD squirrel that just kind of is like, I have an idea, and then he makes it work. But um thank you for asking that. I'm really proud of the sirennetwork.com. You can go over there. It's not every show is overtly political. We have shows with Rachel Vinman where she talks about, mental wellness, and we have shows about foreign policy, and we have shows about, creating a world that you want to live in for your children, for yourself. And we have
Mm.
shows that are more overtly political, like I had Akeem Jeffries on today. But I'm really proud of it. I really think that we can lift all boats, and yeah, and bringing the loving hippies back. Yeah. You know what? Like, we should surround ourselves with people that we connect with on a human level. I think the humanity thing is so long absent, and I think again, that's where authoritarians, that's where they do their real dirty work, is once you can dehumanize and disconnect people from the threads that keep us connected to each other, then you can do a lot of damage. So every chance we get to disarm that bomb, we should take. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I think we're succeeding at doing on the siren. That's what conversations like this do. That's what you do every day. So yeah, that's that.
It's a very exciting, I think, a very exciting project, and something that should have been undertaken long ago, because like you said, the right wing, they kind of already had their pieces in place. They created an ecosystem, and they nurtured it to the point where a guy like Charlie Kirk, for instance, was moving the needle, and people were following, and Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, and that whole ecosystem was driving a narrative and framing things, and Democrats were unable to catch up. So this is a critical piece of the missing piece of the puzzle. Do you have your mug with you? Do you have that siren mug?
Wait.
You must keep it.
I do. Look at me. I'm like, Cher. I do have it. Hold on a second, Brooklyn. I'm just gonna go get it because I'm gonna try not to trip myself on all my many wires because I have it, but it's dirty. So
in any case, I believe that website is something like the Siren. What is the website? The Siren Network.
TheSirenNetwork.com, and this is the delightful mug, which it's dirty, and I apologize. I don't have a sink in my office, so sometimes the dishes pile up, and it's the only mug I have at the moment. But there it is, the Siren. And I just want to point out that Sam Schwartz and I, who, if you don't know Sam, I know Sam. We know Sam because Sam's cousin Alex was murdered at Parkland, and Sam decided in the wake of that horrific murder that he was going to change the reality that some were trying to force upon us. And in Florida, they made a lot of change, and they ended up with an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. But Sam and I hemmed and hawed over the logo for about 4 months, and we landed on in this S here. There is the relief of the mythical siren, which there's a misnomer about. And guys, do the rabbit hole in this. They got done dirty. Those sirens. Yeah, they got done dirty. They were like, oh, people are like, oh, they were sinking sailor ships and they were bad. But do the rabbit hole on this. Sirens got done dirty by some powerful men who were like, oh, no, they're bad. They're not bad. They were not bad. They were powerful, but they were not bad. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, thesirennetwork.com. Our hub is on Substack, but you can find us on YouTube and all the socials. And we are growing. We added Harry Dunn to our contributors list last week. And I have a friend y'all may know, maybe we're breaking some news, who is going to be having a show with me over there. I don't know if
Harry Dunn?
No, you.
Oh. Oh, wait, are we talking Tuesday? The Tuesday thing?
No. You and I are going to start doing our show with Brooklyn and JoJo.
Oh, yeah. On the siren thing.
That's right.
Yeah,
but Tuesday is not a thing. We're not there yet.
It's a huge hit. It's every Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, we're gonna land on a time probably, because my life is topsy-turvy. Your life is, everyone's lives are, but yeah. So we're just growing, and I I just want to spread love and happiness, man. Like
that's right.
Things, yeah.
And to that, I want to say that my favorite takeaway from this chat with you is remembering that the people who live amongst us, you might see some very emotional, very dramatic videos online about people being kidnapped and stuff like that, but at its core, our society, our communities, our neighborhoods, we have a lot more in common with each other than you realize. And it took having a little block party in my neighborhood, where I know for a fact there are Trumpers here, but I don't look at them or think of them as Trumpers, and as long as we keep the conversation about how are your kids, and how are you dealing with these crazy price increases and stuff like that, things that we can agree on, there's a whole lot more that we have in common that we don't have in common. And if we keep it centered there, I think we are going to be able to push this country back to where it belongs and save it from falling into the abyss of authoritarianism. And Joe, I can't thank you enough for joining me on the show. It's always a pleasure. I always feel like I learned something from you too. And I appreciate you. I appreciate all the hard work you do for us, for America, and God bless you.
Well, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you for that. And yeah, I can't wait to feed you fried chicken naked later. Um, because that's apparently
I
what we
haven't
do.
seen one of those memes in a while. I'll have to
Oh,
check with it. I'm almost 99% sure there are a bunch of them in the replies to this tweet right now. So
yeah, yeah.
um, do me a favor, hang tight there while I sign off, and I'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
And folks, thank you for joining me for another wonderful episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And as always, I look forward to seeing you guys here next week. Same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.